Cousins, now being heard around the world as quarterback, has been dropped on Netflix. And now everyone is getting a reaction to what Kirk Cousins had to say, saying that he would not be an Atlanta Falcon if he knew the Atlanta Falcons would be taking a quarterback first in the draft after they signed him in free agency.
Kirk provides us a chance to go out and win the South. He fit all the mold as far as everything that we believe in from a character standpoint, everything that we believe in from a decision-making standpoint. And we knew we gave ourselves an immediate chance when we picked up Kirk, and we wanted to put ourselves in a position to maintain that excellence with our next young product, learning and playing behind them. There's no really great way to do that, particularly when you're talking about the quarterback position when there's only one guy that can play throughout the season.
That's Raheem Morris saying why they signed Kirk Cousins with the intentions of drafting Michael Penix Jr.
Look, Raheem's not wrong. Arthur Blank's not wrong. You know, you signed Kirk Cousins. We were all excited. Hey, man, we finally got a viable quarterback after watching, you know, Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, Logan Woodside. I mean, we had bad quarterbacks for a couple of seasons after Matt Ryan. You weren't wrong for signing Kirk Cousins. In the grand scheme, you weren't wrong for drafting Michael Penix. The problem was when you did it. All of us were ticked off or wondering what the hell you're doing. Now, moving forward, it actually looks like it worked out perfectly for you because Michael Penix Jr. is now your starting quarterback. You hope that this guy's going to be your next franchise guy for a decade. It's just, you know, I called it organizational malpractice yesterday. We can go all the way back to the Deshaun Watson fiasco, and they have had organizational malpractice that entire time. They've made dumb decision after bad decision after signing Marcus Mariota and naming him the starter in April. You didn't even allow that guy to take a snap. That's our starter. And then the next year, hey, Desmond Ridder's our starter. And then you're not playing the guys in preseason. So the organization's made a lot of stupid moves.
That is awful.
You're hoping now that Michael Penix is the move that maybe tilts it in the right direction.
Well, it was a situation where Kirk Cousins, to his point, he was a free agent. So he's got to survey the landscape of all of the available suitors in the NFL. What he's not also being honest about is the Falcons paid him more than anybody else was going to pay him.
Right.
So the whole, well, I could have gone somewhere else jive is not flying with me. But to his point,
he would have stayed in Minnesota if he was going to deal with a team drafting a quarterback with their first overall pick. That's what the Vikings told him. We're going to try to draft somebody to come in here and see what they can do. Now, J.J. McCarthy was that guy they drafted. I don't even know where they picked.
Yeah, they picked 12th, right below us.
Exactly.
So they took a first-round quarterback. Here's the thing. If Minnesota would have told him they're giving him 4 years.
Are you eating again?
Yeah, I took a bite of something.
Just take a break over there.
No.
I'll say what Michael says why he swallows that. He does say in episode 1 that he feels if he had stayed in Minnesota, it would have been a year-to-year thing, and he did not want year-to-year. So that was another attractive quality of Atlanta is the multi-year contract.
Right. That's what I was saying.
And $100 million guaranteed.
Had Minnesota told him, we're going to draft a quarterback, but we're paying you $180, he's still in Minnesota.
He would have stayed.
The problem is he thought he was going to come down here and, I'm the starter for 3 years and I don't have to compete. Who the hell are you? You have one playoff win in your life. Well, you should be competing every day to have your job.
Here he is, Kirk Cousins, saying things would have been different. Now he says that the world knows that the deal he got was also including Michael Penix Jr. being drafted.
Ended up signing with Atlanta and was pretty excited about the chance to get down there and start fresh. And then, was pretty surprised when the NFL draft happened. Wasn't expecting us to take a quarterback so high. At the time, it felt like I had been a little bit misled, or certainly if I had the information around free agency, it certainly would have affected my decision. I had no reason to leave Minnesota with how much we loved it there if both teams are going to be drafting a quarterback high. But I've also learned in 12 years in this league that you're not entitled to anything. It's all about being able to earn your spot and prove yourself.
So let's just say
he felt entitled to stuff.
Let's say it's a bad decision to draft Michael Penix Jr. and they sit him for 3 years because Kirk Cousins is so good and things are progressing the way that we thought they would for the Falcons. Is it a bad pick then? I don't think so. My point in this whole thing is he had a job to do. And now he is trying to play victim because things have not worked out his way, in part because of decisions and selfishness he has displayed on his part. Now he has to eat it. The whole point is the organization has been a mess since Matt Ryan left and we went to the Super Bowl, and quarterback has been a big problem along with coaching. Coaching and quarterback has been the big problem for the Atlanta Falcons for the last 8 years. And so you went out and got a guy you thought was going to be your future quarterback after Kirk Cousins played 2, 3, all 4 years. That's for the Falcons to deal with or their decisions to deal with. And now he's trying to play victim.
It's he's in a bad place, and I hope we're not in a bad place as a franchise and a team, because to your point, the Arthur Smith hire, the having him go with Marcus Mariota, like you talked about, Johnny, was slightly ridiculous. It's almost Arthur Smith knew what Marcus Mariota was.
Yeah, a journeyman quarterback.
Journeyman quarterback. Coached him up in Tennessee, right? Mm-hmm. Played for him.
Yeah.
Did his thing. You know what you have.
Right.
And it wasn't great. It was a run-of-the-mill average quarterback.
He's a bottom 10 starter when he was here.
Yeah, no question about it.
Desmond Ridder might have been the worst starter when he was here.
And that's Arthur Smith and his cockiness and arrogance about his offense and what he thinks he can do with it and who he thinks he can bring in there, and familiarity with Marcus Mariota, thinking he can run the offense. Listen to Harry Douglas talk about Kirk Cousins and what Home Team just talked about and feeling misled.
It's okay to just take accountability. Man, you lost your job. You didn't finish the task. You started okay, but you didn't finish the task. And I actually thought the Atlanta Falcons or Raheem Morris, I thought they waited too late to bench Kirk Cousins because I would have did it a game or two beforehand. So the Falcons could have gained a little bit more steam, and Michael Penix Jr. could have got acclimated to being with the guys as the number one quarterback to try to make a late push at the end of the season. So Kirk Cousins, no one cares.
I 1,000% agree with Harry Douglas, and he's right. I agree with him on all of that. The Falcons' culpability is they kept sending him back out there, even though he kept saying I could get through it. But if you sit him after he got hurt, which was...
What was the process? So we played a soundbite yesterday with Kirk on the sideline.
Oh,
my goodness. Nobody says that in football, by the way. Not one person. You say, oh, my effing arm. I bleeped up my shoulder. My elbow's jacked up.
Blank this blanket hurts.
That's exactly right.
Bleeping stings, coach.
I mean, anyway, beyond that.
Toradol, please. I don't know that's a thing
So
anymore.
when he was on that sideline, he was looking in the face of the head trainer and the team doctor.
Yeah.
That's who he was talking to. What happened after that game? Was there an X-ray? Was there an MRI? Was there treatment in the training room? Was there
Apparently
this? Was
not.
there that? Because
They were on the road in New Orleans when it happened, and he also talked about on the plane where it started throbbing.
Exactly.
So I think when you get back to Atlanta, you send him to Emory, you get him in the
next
MRI.
Day, you go right there next to the beautiful Emory facility they just built next to the indoor facility with the MRI machine, and you get in that sucker and see what's wrong. Did he do that?
With the head doctor who he was already talking to, with the head trainer. No, he didn't do that.
He could have sat for 5 weeks. So that was when you were 6-3, you lose that game to New Orleans. Now you're 6-4. The next
guy's
game
on pace, by the way, for like 32, 34 touchdowns.
Yeah,
and like 13
He was on
picks.
pace for a really, really good season.
It was working out. So if you sat him the next week for Denver, he would have been out for the bye week.
Sure.
Gave him the week after the Chargers. That's 3 weeks right there.
And now he comes back.
There you go. So,
and let's just say the worst case scenario happens in those 2 games. You go 0-2. Guess what? You went 0-2 without him. He wouldn't have lost his job. You probably weren't winning in Denver anyway because your defense got shredded out there. The Chargers, you had a real chance to win.
Big time.
His pick 6 cost the game. I called for him on this show the day after the Chargers game to be benched.
that was it. That was the one.
And
That's what Harry's talking about,
And people were giving me a lot of crap. Oh, you're jumping the gun. No, I'm not. I could see this guy can't throw. We were seeing he was almost having to crow hop like an outfielder to throw a 5-yard out because his arm was dead. His legs were dead. Again, going back, this is not just a Kirk Cousins problem. You have an organization that was too chicken bleep to pull a guy out.
Well, I go back to what I said yesterday. You're going to give a veteran the benefit of the doubt. When Peyton Manning was at the end and he had the neck stuff and he couldn't feel his fingers,
right?
You were sending a quarterback on a football field who has to throw the football and he could not feel.
Yeah, but they won a Super Bowl that year.
The point is, he was a veteran. What do you have for us? I don't care if it's 10 plays at work. So that's the one place I can go. That being said, it was so bad after the Chargers game, it was clear he needed to be sat.
And they started him 2 more games.
He played 2 more games, and then you sat him after a win.
That's horrible.
You tried to milk it as long as you could to that Minnesota game to make it, I'm back in Minnesota. Oh. This whole Netflix thing, I think, played a factor as well. I'm telling you.
I don't disagree with you.
There's something about.
So it was Minnesota, and then you played the Raiders.
Right.
And you won the Raiders game.
And I remember the conversation vividly
11
now.
of 17 he went.
Because everybody's, we can't start Michael Penix on the road we can't start him against Minnesota. They're too good. And Kirk needs to go back there. Okay, I'll give you that. We can't start him on the road against the Raiders. It's too bright lights. What? It's the blanket Raiders. The Raiders have sucked. Oh, my goodness.
They almost beat you.
Here's another mouth from ESPN talking about Kirk Cousins.
Who's this guy?
And what he did.
It's sports treason is what it is. And think about how incredibly selfish it is for you not to shut it down earlier, to help and bestow pearls of wisdom for a young quarterback thrown in. He didn't get the majority of the reps in preseason. He didn't get the majority of reps during training camp. He didn't get the majority of reps throughout the season. You're throwing in a rookie quarterback with 3 games to go, and you could have helped this guy, help the team, and you didn't want to because you were afraid of being Wally pipped, and you didn't want a backup quarterback to touch the field because you read it in Drew Brees' book. I say shame on him. It's an embarrassment, and he is a committer of sports treason. He didn't do all he could to help his team win.
There he is, Brandon Leak.
Home Team 316.
I like that.
I mean, the bottom line is you could have done more, and you've admitted now what you did was self-serving.
Oh, dude.
Period.
It's
no
unbelievable.
matter what Terry Fontenot did, no matter who they drafted, you did something self-serving so you could get what you thought was best for you and not for Atlanta, the Falcons, or the children of this city.
This is why I wanted this guy off our roster. We wouldn't be having this conversation. How does he walk in now in 2 weeks to training camp?
God.
This guy's got to go be in a quarterback meeting room. He's got to go be in the offensive meeting room. He's going to be out there getting reps during practice. How if I'm another player on the Falcons, so I look at this guy in the eye and go, I want you as a teammate. I don't want that kind of player as a teammate. Damn you, Pittsburgh. Now I really hate Aaron Rodgers for signing up there.
404-231-1680 will let you react to Kirk Cousins saying he might not have been here if the Falcons had let him know they were going to take Michael Penix Jr. And this is what I believe. I'm not sure that was a plan going in.
I definitely was not. I promise you wasn't.
That, to me, to my argument, that's where things can change, and I don't have to explain to you as the boss what is best for the Falcons when you will be out of here, sir, in a couple of years. So I don't think it was the plan initially to draft Michael Penix Jr.
I don't know when they signed Kirk Cousins. I can go back and look for it.
A couple of weeks before the draft.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is stupid anyway.
Then the Falcons went out there and worked out Michael Penix in wind and rain, and he was amazing and this and that, and fell in love with him or whatever.
Did they take the Arthur private jet out there? It was just our contingency working him out.
And then they fell in love with him, and then you decided you're going to draft him.
And that's what I hate. I hate the fact that free agency comes before the draft. I think you should restock your franchise with the new players coming in, with the GM and maybe the new coach, then go to free agency to add the icing on the cake. And I think they've had that backwards for many years.
We have to explain something real quick to Finn. You dropped a home team 316. Oh, yeah. He looked bewildered. He had no idea what the comment comes from. No. Are you familiar with Austin 316?
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
What does it mean?
John 316.
No.
Okay, tell me what dude, let's get the wrestling reference out of the way, please. Thank you.
Austin 316 means I just whooped your ass.
Oh, thank you. That's fantastic. That's great. That's blasphemy, by the way.
A little bit, yes.
A little bit.
Why?
What do you mean?
What's wrong with that?
You're taking a Bible verse and making it your own, and then you just said it whooped your ass.
But it put a smile on your face.
Well, the reason he did that, now we have to give him the whole backstory. Jake the Snake Roberts had turned into like a Bible character, and he'd walk around with his Bible. Well, Austin beat him, And then he said, you quote your Bible scriptures. Well, Austin 3:16 means I just whooped your.
You guys are ridiculous.
That T-shirt, Road Dogg, I know you have one of those T-shirts, do you
Austin
not?
316.
You have an
Without a
Austin
doubt.
316.
I do. I've got
Of course
if
he
you
does.
indulge me, a quick little good story about it. So
Okay.
WrestleMania here in Atlanta, they do press conferences in the bottom of the Georgia Dome. That's where it was at the time. I'm at the press conference. I'm just standing there against the wall. I have my Austin 316 shirt on. I'm watching the press conference, whoever it was up on the podium. It may have been Pee Wee Herman. And I hear a voice behind me say, "Hey, cool shirt." I turn around and say thanks, and it's actually Stone Cold Steve
That's
Austin
awesome.
complimenting me on it, wearing
a
an Austin
great
316
That
shirt.
is
Story.
hilarious.
Fantastic how wrestling can touch the masses. 404-231-1680. We'll get your reaction.
I'd rather talk wrestling than Kirk Cousins.
Plus, are the Braves in a little more trouble than we realize? We'll get to that when we return here in the locker room on the Fan 680 and 93.7 FM. We'll take your calls now on Kirk Cousins. What do you think as more sound bites and quotes come from the Netflix special Quarterback? And now Kirk Cousins has been a national topic of discussion. Blue, you've been holding. Thank you for calling us here in the locker room. What would you like to say here on the Fan?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my phone call. I don't understand this whole Kirk Cousins conversation. We guys are placing blame at Kirk Cousins. This is not a Kirk Cousins issue. This is a Falcons issue. This is a Raheem Morris issue. I mean, look at Tom Brady. He got rid of a backup QB in Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, you got Peyton Manning, who did not want to come down. And like you said, home team, his neck was damn near broke. We got Drew Brees. He couldn't even throw the ball his last 2 years. Like, why are we placing hate at this man? I'm not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan. I don't get him wanting to continue to play. Okay, you got a backup QB that could take your job. We saw it. Joe Montana. He lost his job because of the backup QB. So I don't place the blame at Kirk Cousins. The blame got to go to the Falcons and Raheem Morris. The Falcons, even when they benched Kirk Cousins, you had an opportunity to make the playoffs. You lost it. Raheem Morris made a terrible decision in the Washington game. You couldn't stop Carolina. So why are we mad at Kirk Cousins? I just don't get it.
Thanks for the call. You're right. Look, after that Charger game, coach is responsible for those next three or the next
No
two
doubt.
losses. That's on
Dude,
Raheem Morris. The man couldn't throw the football.
I can't remember the guy's name who covers the Falcons, but he came out of that locker room environment where he's doing pressers and everything else and told us that people are talking about Kirk Cousins' lack of
During
throwing.
practice.
Yes.
Velocity.
Yes. The velocity, the arm strength. How good Michael Penix was compared to a guy whose arm's broken in half, which makes sense now. But he had that well before they ended up benching him.
Yeah, the only problem I have with that, and Blue, I appreciate everything you said. You just compared Kirk Cousins, though, to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees.
Well, it's just about being a quarterback and having the wherewithal to just have confidence in yourself.
Those three, you run them out there until they can't be run out there anymore. Kirk Cousins hasn't earned that.
The problem is there's only one person on the football field that can play. Like when Harvey Dahl was here, he played on like a half broken leg.
Right. Alex Mack had a broken leg in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. The other guy, Todd Weiner, literally had a screw put into his leg, a high ankle sprain, and we're in the NFC title game in Philadelphia, and he broke it in half in the game.
Oh, ouch.
So the guys try to grind through things
Sure, right.
in football, but when it's your shoulder and your elbow as a quarterback, you cannot continue to try to grind through it, especially when the product on the field looks like garbage and you got, I guess it was 6 interceptions and maybe 1 touchdown at the point where Johnny was like, this is enough already. And then we went on to go 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown before he finally decided to do it 5 games into that thing. So my point is, like Roddy White jacked up his ankle in a preseason game and tried to play on it as opposed to resting for the first 3 weeks of the season and never got healthy all year long. So we as football players, you try to play through stuff all the time. So I'm not, and we need help from the guys around us, the trainers, the doctors, your coach, people that watch you run and do stuff to say, hey, listen, this is not how it's working. This is not going well. But it's hard to tell when you have a walkthrough Wednesday and half-ass Thursday and a bleep you Friday and nobody knows what the hell you can do with a football in your arm.
Shane, you're up next. Thank you for calling us here in the locker room.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say Blue's my boy because he stole everything I was going to say. Brian even hit the nail on the head with it earlier. Kirk Cousins is the easy thing to pick on. If you take emotion out of it, we have a football head coach, we have a general manager, we have doctors, we have MRI machines next door, as Brian pointed out. What did they see at practice? He can't do it. He got injured. He was healthy. He played good. He got hurt. They could see he's hurt. Everybody saw it every day. I listen to y'all every morning.
Thank you.
Y'all saw this. Y'all saw this. We all pointed this out. He's hurt. He's hurt. And they did nothing. They're more at fault than Kirk Cousins. It's the Falcons more than Kirk.
Thanks for the
pyramid scheme.
Thanks for the call, Shane.
That's why I called it organizational malpractice. Everybody's at fault. I think the emotion does point at Kirk Cousins because he's the one on the Netflix documentary. It's coming out and it's coming back to light, stuff that we already knew. The simple football side is, here's the last 4 starts of Kirk Cousins. You scored 6, you scored 13, you scored 21, and you scored 15. The first 3 starts of Michael Penix, 34, 24, 38. One of these things was not like the other. Had you pulled the plug after the Chargers, where he was dreadful and threw 4 yanks, including a pick 6, maybe you beat Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe by the time you get to Washington, Michael Penix is in a better groove and you don't lose in that game.
The problem is he was just good enough with his jacked up arm and shoulder to keep us in a bunch of games close. Think about the Chargers where we're close because the defense kept us in it.
You still had a chance to win on the final drive.
21-21 going into the fourth quarter.
Right.
And you fumble a kickoff and jack that whole thing up, right?
You give up a touchdown, then the next play you fumble a kickoff.
You were never out of a game.
Right.
That's the issue.
Well, the Broncos game you were out. But
you got whipped on that. True. So, but that was one game where you got whipped.
You got to go back to him saying, "Oh goodness," and how bad his arm was, and then not being in the training room, not getting treatment, and going on vacation on a bye week.
Well, the thing for me now,
during a bye week, you go nowhere.
You get treatment.
It's nice to get a bye week in the middle of this, and you can go somewhere. It's great, and I know he's getting honored at Michigan State or whatever was happening, but maybe you go for 2 days, but he spent time up.
Yeah,
the whole thing is
he's got big money, so you do the treatment during the week. Hey, I got to fly to Michigan State on Friday. I'm going to go up there, take care of business. I come back Sunday, and I'm right back in the lab.
Dude, he told us he's not on the injury report, and then after the season, he does what you can't do as a football player and blame the second half of the season on an injury.
And that's my issue. Whatever you think about the Falcons, what they should have done, ineptitude, they aren't blaming Kirk Cousins. He's on the blame, and I'm not taking accountability and I have a problem with it.